Today we've got Phil Koen joining us on Digging into the Future. We're going to talk about all sorts of technology trends in terms of what's going on on the west coast of the United States and the businesses he's involved in, but also to kind of go through some of the things that have happened over the last couple of years historically. Phil, although he's a young guy, has been through a lot of the different changes in our industry and has been a leader, a CEO, a chairman, board member, private equity guy. He's done pretty much every job that you can do in the supply chain of leadership in technology. So really excited to have Phil here. He's an old friend and a mentor and a guy that we're really excited to get some insights from, because he's always a great guy in terms of giving us thoughts about where things are headed. So Phil, welcome aboard.
Phil, great to see you, and I love the comment about young.
Well, you are young, and I think it's one of the things that one of the things that I would love to talk to you about is we were just joking. You won Wilshire, and that was you started in the data center business or in a building. But tell me about as we think about what's going on in the data center business. You've sort of been there from the beginning with Equinix, and where do you see things going in the next 2-3 years? There's a lot of different kind of forks in the road in terms of the industry. What's your thoughts at this point?
Yeah, great question, and it is kind of interesting that you're correct. I did start my career in downtown LA in an office building that was one Wilshire, which is now a data center, which is probably a good prophecy for where the world is headed. So all those vacant office buildings, you can now count on them probably becoming data centers, I guess. But I think it's still a great time. And I think that it really reflects just the underlying how we continue to just digitize everything in the world. And more applications appear. And I think we're still in the very early stages. I mean, thinking back, you're right. I started my career in this space back in 1998 or so when I joined Equinix. So it's, if you'd asked me 10 years ago where we were in kind of the maturity model, I would say probably halfway through, but I don't believe that anymore. And I'm excited about it because I do think that right now, as we see just the power of compute, network, and storage just the price points continue to fall. And that trend, I just think, will continue. We are on the verge, I think, of even just more exciting type of applications. You mentioned AI is going to be a driver. I think autonomous driving is going to be a big driver. I think, the continued adoption of video into the medical field. So we are continuing to see how human contact and communication is changing. We're going to continue to see just how the amount of machine learning that's going on, and at the end of the day, all of this can only be possible. It's riding on basic infrastructure. It's going to take massive amount of compute at scale, massive amount of storage at scale. And all of that's got to sit somewhere in a specialized building called a data center.
The big thing in California when I was out there last was obviously AI is becoming a big movement, and obviously video has been off the charts for the last 3 years, partly due to the whole COVID situation and the fact that you and I meet more like this than we do in person now. But what do you think? I mean, how do you translate all of that investment and change that's coming through those trends into data center usage? Is it a step function? Because a lot of us out there we haven't seen the impact of AI yet in terms of what does it mean infrastructure wise, right?
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think it's like any of these new technology. It's a slow adoption curve that goes up, but it's a big enough shift as far as requiring immense amount of compute and network capacity. that it obviously impacts those companies that are trying to, build out the infrastructure to offer these services, of which we're a direct beneficiary. I think the hardest thing for the guys that are pursuing this is, frankly, they're just lousy at capacity planning. And this has been historically the case for as long as I've been in this business. It's always amazed me. It's just how, and it's not being negative, it just shows you how hard it is to try to forecast what really, how much compute, and at the end of the day, how much power do you really need for whatever applications you're building. So there's a tendency to just overestimate. Hopefully you get it right. Sometimes they don't. And then suddenly you get the call, I need X amount of megawatts in the next 6 months, which is inside. No one can provide that unless you're building speculatively and holding the capacity, which is, maybe some people will want to do that, but that's not a real prudent model either. So you're constantly in this cycling around too much, not enough, too much capacity. And it's, I just think that's just the way this industry is wired. It's amazing to me.
And I think the other geometric problem that I see is also that compute cost is dropping so fast. So you're buying more compute cycles every year, sort of Moore's law, but so that runs in the equation too. So you're getting faster and faster compute power, and then you're trying to build a network to it, and the network may be the bottleneck, right? And the data center could be the bottleneck because electricity is sort of on a old school model. It's not on a new school model, right? It's you actually have to build a power plant to actually have power. Whereas the rest of it is pretty much you can lay it in the ground in a matter of weeks or whatever, right? I mean, it's and you can put computers anywhere, but it's the challenge is power, I think, right?
Well, I think your point around bottlenecks, they do shift. I mean, we've seen this, where they shift between, various pieces of the supply chain, and today. For example, I don't think people realize just how much power is being taken down. I was just looking at some numbers, and in Northern Virginia in 2020, just Northern Virginia now, something like 350 megawatts of power was taken down.
Wow.
Now, that, for a lot of your viewers, may not, what is 350 megawatts? It sounds like, well, what does that mean? Well, 100 megawatts can power something like 16,000 homes. So, 350 megawatts, you're talking about what? Close to 45,000 homes, 50,000. That's a small town.
Yeah.
So imagine you're a local, your local power company, and this is 1 year.
Yeah.
So think about, you're looking at the power generation and the distribution capability, and how long the lead times around that. I really do think that what's happening is the constraint is shifting further and further back to the to the original source, and then you overlay that just the lead times now for gen sets are is astronomical. Yeah. So we're headed for, I think the problem I see here, we're really headed for kind of a real capacity constraint at really at kind of a basic supply chain side of the equation.
Well, obviously it's a geopolitical thing too, right? I mean, I think a lot of this has been the China-U.S. sort of blow up has caused sort of, massive, because there's components that are missing, there's manufacturing that's been taken down, so you've got this, the China-U.S. thing has been a big contributor, I think, to this mess, right? I mean, at least what I'm hearing is it is improving, but it's improving slowly in terms of American companies putting on more capacity, European companies putting on more capacity, but they think it'll be 12 to 14 months before, you can get that infrastructure in place, right?
But I can tell you, we're in the process of building out, a number of facilities, and it's, the hardest thing for our teams right now is because we have delivery dates for our customers, and how do we maintain those delivery timeframes given the supply constraints we're having. And a lot of companies, and we're doing it at Stack, is we're having to layer in buffer inventory to be able to kind of absorb those supply shocks. And that was unheard of, 5 years ago. But that's the types of things that we're trying to do to ensure the consistency of supply, and more importantly, deliver our end product in the time frame that our customers are wanting it. So we got to put this in perspective, and I'm not trying to diminish. There are some real issues out there, but this is a time where stay focused. Make sure you run your company for maximizing the cash. Pursue the best opportunities. The ones that aren't so great, stop, and make sure you have a strong team around you, and you'll get through it. That's my belief.
Phil, thanks a lot for taking the time with us on and digging into the future, and we really appreciate your insights, and thanks again for helping us out and coming on with us.
Always a pleasure. Hopefully, maybe you might have me back someday. Who knows?
We'd love that. Thanks, Phil.